Alright, today we're going to cover a little bit about how to manipulate text within Inkscape, as well as go over a couple of other basic tools that we use to make our life simpler while using Inkscape. Now I've designed a little part here. It's a series of 4 squares inset inside of a larger square. So when we're cutting this out, this outer square is the outside border of our cutout, with the 4 squares being the dropouts from our piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and type in a name here. Name I like to use here. Now at this point, these letters are not vectors. The reason we can tell this is by selecting this small tool here, Edit Paths by Nodes, we should be able to see paths that are editable. And in this case, this name here isn't a vector. Therefore, it's not editable. In order to transform this word into something that's editable, we go over to this pointer tool here, select the text in question, go over to Path and hit Object to Path. By doing so, we've successfully transformed this name into vectors, meaning that when we import this into SheetCam, we could effectively cut out these letters. Now we're going to take these letters, and because they're vectors, I can go in here and I've double clicked on my fill and stroke to pull up this menu here. I remove the fill on the letters. I want to go ahead and select these letters here. I hold shift and select these. I remove the fill and I stroke it with a small line there, 0.011 inches. Now the letters are stroked, and we can now see the vectors for what they are, the outlines. I'm going to go ahead and move this letter around, get this to a point where I want it to be in this piece of art. Now I want the letters to be cut out in this fashion here. We're going to zoom in a little bit. I want it to be cut out in this fashion. Now I want the B to disappear in these dropouts so that the name is only implied. So what I do here is I select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I select all the shapes that are going to be integrating or touching each other in this case. I go to Path and I select Union. Now what this has done is actually inset the letters into the vectors here. Now the only problem we'll see when we cut this out is the inside of the O and the inside of the 2 B's will be dropouts. And we can avoid that by going in and individually editing specific parts of letters to make them drop out, to make them not drop out, I should say. I'm going to go ahead and go back here. I'm going to remove my 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm just going to cut out this name. I can go in with this vector editing tool, zoom in a little bit, and I want this B to not drop out when I cut this file. So by double clicking on any of these vectors, I can make a new node, and new nodes allow us to manipulate this more effectively. So we select a vector between 2 nodes, and we use this tool here, which is delete segment between 2 non-endpoint nodes. Or, I mean, that's exactly what it does. It deletes a segment between the 2 selected nodes, boom, and it's gone. Same thing between these 2 nodes, boom, and it's gone. Same thing here, and it's gone. Same thing here, gone, here, gone, and I'm just selecting in between the 2 nodes, some of the nodes that I made. And now we have this weird cutout. Now we can't just leave it like this. We need to have a file that isn't just a series of lines. If you want to, you can definitely do this. In this case, I don't like it. I'm going to take these 2 nodes here. By selecting the second node using Shift, I can go in and select this line, this tool, which is Join Selected End Nodes with a new segment. So it's going to be a new segment put in between those nodes, and done. Click on one, select the other, use that tool again, select one node and the other, and done. Same thing on the opposite end of the B, and done. And I now have something that is a stencil or drop down. And in this case, it looks a little bit more like a 13. Unfortunately, the letter B does tend to look like that when you're working with it as a stencil. Is there anything we can do about that? Not really. You can stylize it if you'd like, but that is just how the letter B turns out. Same thing with the O. We can go in here and double click to create a new vector. Now, I can't seem to get close enough to remove that vector in between. I click, remove, click, remove. Select two vectors, join them, select two vector endpoints, and join them. And now I'm cutting out. And when I go to cut out this file, it'll now not drop out the center of this O and not drop out the center of this B. And we're likely going to do the same thing to this B over here. That's how you take any font that you have on your computer and turn it into a vector file. There's a couple of tools I do want to just make light of here. I'm going to create two circles here to show you sort of how they work. I can take this circle that's a vector, overlap it over this circle, and by selecting both circles at the same time as vectors, I go path, union, and they've removed wherever those two lines overlap. And this is a really useful tool when you're trying to combine two images or two letters or two sets of vectors without having to go in and tediously try to connect them by going point by point and line by line. The union tool allows you to connect them together. Same thing, you have a lot of other tools, difference, intersection, exclusion, division, cut path. This allows you to manipulate overlapping SVG or vectors. That being said, that's all we'll really need to get started with Inkscape. You can then import different vector files and start manipulating them on a smaller level or on a more accurate level just by using this Edit Paths by Nodes tool, and then being able to come in and delete or join segments and add and remove nodes as you need. Now I will mention one last thing before I sign off here. If I were to select two nodes here, or a vector between two nodes, and just hit the delete key, it won't remove the vector or that line like we would by using that tool. And that's just a way Inkscape works. There's nothing we can really do about it. You do have to, when you select a vector between two nodes, have to hit this button in order for it to remove just that segment. Without doing so, you're going to see a lot of warping, and you won't actually see a line cut there. And that should get you started.